welcome to another episode of season 2 of this raised beds, the raised age wood chip alternative beds. And do you know where we're at? If you've been watching us, you know we're at the Magic Dirt Factory here. This is where the goats roamed. This is where they ate, slept, peed, pooped. Got probably at least 2 types of hay here, if not 3. And we even had, for a short period of time, cows that lived in this area here. So all kinds of goodness that have created such an abundance of like fungal growth. You know, and nowhere else on our property do we have the abundance of different types of fungi and mushrooms and stuff growing. But right here in this probably 30 or so foot section, a nice bucket full, probably about 3 nice scoops. And guess what? This also has earthworms in it. So yeah, we love to seed our beds with some good stuff, but we haven't been able to come out here for a few days because of the wet rain. You can see it's wet right there. I can at least get to this bed though. Let's see if we can put some of this on there. Maybe a little bit more. Alright, let's see if we can get to that bed though. Maybe not actually feel the water kind of under my shoes here. I've got to be careful not to hang out here too long. Alright, there we go. Now we're seeded it with earthworms and this compost that's full of fungal activity all over our beds, except the post-mycorrhizal beds and the beds that haven't been made yet have been seeded with that. We still got to get some leaves and maybe small twigs and all to finish this old banana bed here up. Got another little bucket that won't leak here. And we're going to go ahead and put some more soybean meal on raised bed number 2. You know, a few episodes back we were doing nutrient drenches and we just didn't have enough in the bucket, so a little tiny bit got on the bed. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more. Mineola fixing to bloom, Mineola tangelo, but just, I don't know if that's considered a 5 or 7 gallon pot, but it's taller than some of our beds, so we need to make sure whatever this goes in is going to be a somewhat taller bed. Now it is not near as tall as our like 15 gallon or whatever avocado tree. Here's our soybean meal ready to be taken to the raised bed number 2. So we're at raised bed number 2. Let's just throw it there and everywhere. Alright, now we got plenty. Remember we kind of did a fire ant bomb and there they are. Still here. And ta-da, we have a 4th avocado for our raised bed projects. I did not plan this. I went to a nursery earlier today, the Greenhouse Nursery, just outside of Newberry, Florida, and they have some blooming or fixing to bloom pretty heavily. They had a bunch of them. They had only like 4 cultivars though. We were looking for peaches and nectarines and possibly a couple other things, and we didn't find it. A Baldwin pear to replace our Baldwin pear that died from insect borers, you know, beetles or whatever. The same thing that killed our jujube seedling. And we said, well, we might as well bring home something. We spent a lot of, you know, about an hour to drive out there and gas money, and yeah, so we got this and we got a rose from that nursery for Natalie. Then on our way home we stopped at Home Depot and found another rose, and I got some compost. So yep, now we officially have 4 grafted avocados. This fantastic avocado, which is in a big barrel there, is the one I was referring to when I said we have to have a deep bed. So probably raised bed number 2 will get this guy, because that is our tallest bed. It's not just because the bed is so large. It has pre-existing dirt, especially on that back side, pretty high, probably 2.5 foot, 3 foot in the air. But we want this stuff here to break down and penetrate all around the area so it gets that fungal activity and maximizes the fungal activity penetrating into that dirt mound. In other words, we want that mycorrhizal fungi to be activated in the whole bed. Now we're up to 4. This is the Lilo, I believe, that we put in the other bed, our Lila. So our Lila is our first experimental avocado that we put in raised bed number 1 here. And we got the Fantastic, we got Brazos Bell, and now the one, the Mexicola Grand or Grande, called Grande. Plus we have 2 seedlings that will harden off and probably add to our experiments. They also had a Joey cultivar, so that's the only other one that we didn't have that they had. And I really, you know, if I wanted to get Natalie roses, you know, a rose or 2 rose plants, I couldn't have really afforded to get both. So Mexicola Grand is one that's, you know, hardy to about 20 degrees, you know, supposedly. The Joey, I think, is pretty hardy as well, probably somewhere between 18 and 22 degrees. I'd have to look that up to make sure. But, you know, I guess in the end, if we have successes with a variety of different types like this, you know, we could potentially have 8 different cultivars, maybe 10 different cultivars over time, you know, in the next 5 years. And we probably really won't have to, if we have successes, we won't really have to do seedlings that much. I guess the best thing about seedlings, though, is if it dies down to the roots and the roots still shoot out new shoots or whatever, you're not killing off your graft. So that's always a possibility when you're doing any kind of grafted plant. Citrus, you know, a lot of times trifoliate orange or something comes back from the ground when the top freezes or gets stressed out from too much flooding or rain or disease or whatever, and then you're stuck with a trifoliate orange. Or in our case, we had the citronella, which turned out to be excellent in my opinion. But we definitely don't want to be out 40, 60, 100, 120, $150 on like an avocado or something. We really want to have that success, you know, especially for buying a grafted plant. We don't want the top graft, scion, whatever material to die. Back to raised bed 3. And in other videos I called it raised bed 4, and I went back and forth between 3 and 4 with the pine, the pine material possibly being bed 3, but we really haven't worked on it much. So let's call this guy here under this oak tree and the hammock and swing there as our bed 3. We started working on this probably January 31st, if not the 30th. I looked back at the video, so this isn't even a month-old bed. And we planted in season 1 on the first bed. We planted it out in about 3.5 months, our main tree, our avocado. So we're not even a month in, and we're going to see if we can plant our main tree in this thing and see how it does. If it takes only about 20 feet from that bed, we can zoom in right there to here, is standing water. So we kind of whittle this out here in the middle where we're going to plant it, and we may have to actually push a lot of this stuff in there, the soybean meal and dirt and everything, and we might even have to add some more to kind of get it planted in there. All right, so this is a Mayer lemon. It looks like it's fixing to bloom again, that I bought last year on clearance for $5. It does kind of look sad, but we're going to go ahead and try this out. All right, doesn't look like too much anything there, but I think we're going to add a little bit of our compost we just got, and then maybe kind of put some brush around it to hold the moisture in. And we're going to have a heck of a rainstorm, I guess, today. Clouds are really pretty dark, and they say it's going to be storming all day. All right, there's a little bit of compost down there, and this is Happy Life. It's a compost and cow manure mix, I guess. Now we got a little bit of pine bark as mulch. Just got it in a bag, Walmart or whatever, for $2 or $3. Now we ain't even got to water that because we're going to get storms coming in, which will hopefully fill in some of those air pockets. A tiny bucket of leaves here. Looks like cottonwood and oak, possibly some red maple, and we're going to throw on it and we're going to be done. There are actually worms in that bucket of leaves too. There we go. Just let it sit and see how it does. So that was 23 days from putting some sticks on the ground, saying this is where I'm going to put the bed one day, till a day or two or whatever later to add more materials, and over time adding more materials. So the bed wasn't even built or framed in 23 days ago. And hopefully you guys will keep watching and see if this is a success or failure. See if we can do it really early like this. At the end of all these experiments, we'll learn that we do not have to set some wood chips out for a year to age before we can use them in this kind of bed. I have almost 0 wood chips here unless I bring it out of a bag of mulch or something. And you may be wondering why we didn't plant like minor plants in that bed. You know, I guess there's probably one main reason is because we're still under frost. We just had a frost. We had like frost on the grass yesterday morning. So we're still having frost and potential for hard freezes. And a lot of the minor plants and they're definitely not going to easily root in a frost. And even if they survive, it'll probably kill them down to the roots a lot of times. So we didn't really have time on that bed to plant minor plants. If we start building plants into the spring and summer and all, then we probably will have time to do that. It's definitely getting to be in a time when we need to start planning out each bed when we build it, what we're going to put in there as our main plant or tree. Avocados, peaches, nectarines, chestnuts, possibly more plums. That's what's on my mind right now. And of course the pomelo and the Mineola tangelo that we already have. And I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this situation and say, let's add some pear trees to the experiment. So we had a Baldwin pear for many years that got killed last year from like the boring insects that bore into the trunk and just kill it. That pear did really well for a long time in one of the highest parts of our property where the water table is really low. But I've planted pear trees out all over my property from the wettest to, middle and everywhere. And they all suffered. I got a few kind of staying alive a little bit, but they, almost all of them have died. Maybe this is a problem with wet feed and bacterial root rot and stuff with them as well. And we had an Anna apple in the wet area. They supposedly like wet, but maybe there is a point when it's too wet and they just can't handle it. They get too diseased. Where our pear trees currently are, let's go ahead and soon do some post-mycorrhizal beds around them. See if we can repair them. And let's start anew whenever we get the resources and time to get some more plant material and build some more beds to try pears and apples.